The rain-slicked asphalt of the dealership lot gleamed like a black mirror under the sodium lights, reflecting the taillights of cars that no one bothered to glance at twice. Elias Hawthorne, 72 and bent slightly from years of carrying invisible weights, pushed open the glass door, his polished loafers squeaking faintly on the tile. But the salesmen, young wolves in cheap suits, didn't even lift their heads from their phones. "Evening, folks," he said, his voice a gravelly whisper honed by decades of quiet defiance. But it dissolved into the hum of the AC like smoke. In that moment, as a droplet traced his lined cheek. Not from the storm outside, but from the ache of being unseen, Elias knew this was the last time he'd let the world erase him. Elias lingered by the entrance, his calloused fingers tracing the edge of a brochure for a mid-range sedan, the kind of car that promised reliability but delivered nothing more. The dealership, Hargrove Motors, sat on the outskirts of Elmwood, Ohio, a fading Rust Belt town where cornfields choked the horizon and the steel mills had long since rusted into ghosts. It was the sort of place where dreams came to idle, much like the rows of Fords and Chevys gleaming under fluorescent strips, their hoods waxed to perfection but souls gathering dust. Across the showroom floor, Jax Rivera slouched at his desk, 28 and built like a linebacker who'd traded tackles for handshakes. His dark eyes, framed by lashes that turned heads in dive bars on Friday nights, flicked up briefly from his screen. Jax was the golden boy here, top seller 3 quarters running, with a smile that closed deals faster than a V8 engine. But tonight, that smile was absent, replaced by the tight line of his jaw as he scrolled through Grindr notifications, seeking distraction from the voicemail he'd ignored all day. His mother's plea for rent money, laced with the unspoken shame of his father's gambling debts. He spotted Elias then, a silver-haired specter in a threadbare wool coat, clutching that brochure like a lifeline. Jax's gaze lingered a beat too long, not out of pity, but curiosity. The old man had the look of someone who'd seen better decades. His face a map of laugh lines etched over sorrow, a faint scar above his left eyebrow like a punctuation mark on a forgotten sentence. But Hargrove's rule was clear: chase the suits, ignore the stragglers. Elias shuffled toward a display of hybrids, murmuring to himself about mileage and warranties, but Jax turned back to his phone. Let Tommy handle the charity cases. Jax had quotas to hit. Tommy Klein, Jax's reluctant roommate and occasional wingman, was the polar opposite, lanky, with a perpetual 5 o'clock shadow and a laugh that echoed like bad karaoke. He was straight as an arrow, or so he claimed after one too many beers, but Jax had caught the way Tommy's eyes sometimes darted when the conversation turned to club nights. Tonight, Tommy was deep in a cold call, pitching trucks to contractors who hung up mid-sentence. He glanced at Elias, sighed, and waved him off with a half-hearted "be with you in a sec, sir." Elias nodded, polite as ever, and wandered to the coffee station, pouring himself a styrofoam cup of the bitter sludge that passed for hospitality. He sipped slowly, the steam curling up like memories he couldn't quite grasp. 40 years ago, in a San Francisco fog-shrouded alley, he'd held a lover's hand under street lamps that buzzed with possibility. David, golden-haired David, with a laugh that could outshine the Castro's neon, had promised forever, right up until the diagnosis came, and forever shattered into hospital bills and empty apartments. Elias had buried that part of himself deep, trading rainbows for respectability, moving to Elmwood for a quiet life as a high school history teacher. But quiet had turned to isolation, and now, at 72, the loneliness gnawed like rust on an old chassis. The door chimed again, admitting a couple in their 40s, prime targets, khakis crisp, credit scores implied in their confident strides. Jax sprang up like a coiled spring, flashing that megawatt grin. "Folks, welcome to Hargrove. Looking for something with a bit of kick? We've got a Silverado that purrs like a kitten but hauls like a beast." The woman laughed. Her husband nodded. And just like that, Elias faded into the periphery, a shadow among the spotlights. By closing time, the lot was emptying, the sales team trading high-fives over lukewarm beers in the break room. Jax slumped into a folding chair, nursing a Coors, while Tommy recounted his one sale of the day, a minivan to a soccer mom who'd haggled like a pro. "And get this," Tommy said, elbowing Jax. "That old geezer? He just left. Didn't even say boo." Jax chuckled, but it rang hollow. He'd seen the way Elias's shoulders had slumped as he exited into the rain, umbrella forgotten on the rack. Probably window shopping for his grandkids. Or his casket. The room erupted in guffaws. But Jax's mind wandered to his own regrets. The ex who'd ghosted him after coming out to his conservative family. The nights he'd spent staring at the ceiling, wondering if love was just another deal that fell through. Outside, Elias trudged to his bus stop, the brochure sodden in his pocket. He'd come to Hargrove on a whim, inspired by a letter from his late sister's estate attorney. Millions, tucked away from David's tech startup days, invested wisely over decades. Elias had never touched it, letting it grow like a secret garden. But tonight, with the rain washing away the last of his patience, he pulled out his phone and dialed the number he'd memorized but never used. "Mr. Hawthorne, this is Linda from Eldridge Capital. How can we assist?" Elias's voice, steady now, cut through the static. "I'd like to make an offer on a business. Hargrove Motors in Elmwood. Full acquisition." There was a pause, then a flurry of confirmations. By midnight, the papers were in motion. Elias boarded the bus, the city lights blurring past, and for the first time in years, a spark ignited in his chest. Not anger, but possibility. The world had ignored him once. It wouldn't again. The next morning dawned crisp, the kind of autumn blue that painted Elmwood in hues of amber and rust. Jax arrived early, nursing a hangover and a text from his mother. "We need to talk. Mijo. Your dad." He shoved it aside, clocking in with a nod to the manager. Mr. Hargrove himself, a paunchy relic in his 60s who ruled with iron-fisted quotas and zero tolerance for distractions. The team buzzed with the usual rhythm. Leads reviewed, coffee doled out. Tommy slapped Jax on the back. "Rough night? You look like you wrestled a demon." "Something like that." Jax forced a smile, scanning the lot. No sign of yesterday's ghost. Good, fewer loose ends. But as the clock ticked toward 10, a sleek black Escalade pulled into the premium spot, tires humming like a promise. Out stepped a man in a bespoke suit, silver cufflinks glinting, flanked by two suits carrying briefcases. Elias. But not the Elias of last night. This one moved with the quiet authority of someone who'd traded apologies for ownership papers. Mr. Hargrove burst from his office, face paling as he extended a hand. "Mr. Hawthorne, welcome. This is unexpected." Elias shook it firmly, his eyes scanning the showroom with the precision of a general surveying a battlefield. "Pleasure's mine, Mr. Hargrove. Or should I say, former owner? We'll need the keys to your office by noon." The room froze. Jax's coffee cup slipped from his fingers, splashing hot liquid across his shoes. Tommy whispered, "Holy shit," and the other salesmen gawked like they'd seen a resurrection. Elias's gaze landed on Jax, holding it for a heartbeat longer than necessary. There was no malice there, only a flicker of recognition, and something softer, like the first thaw after a long winter. "Gentlemen," Elias said, his voice carrying now, resonant and warm. "It seems we're starting fresh today. Let's make this place run like it should." As Hargrove slunk away to pack his golf trophies, Jax felt the ground shift beneath him. The old man he'd dismissed wasn't just buying a car. He was rewriting the rules, and Jax, whether he knew it or not, was about to get pulled into the story. The transition was surgical, Hargrove's exit as anticlimactic as a fizzling sparkler. By lunch, his desk was cleared, his nameplate swapped for a brass plaque reading Elias Hawthorne, proprietor. The sales team huddled in the break room, whispers flying like shrapnel. "Who the hell is this guy?" one vet muttered. "Smells like a hostile takeover." Tommy leaned against the vending machine, arms crossed. "He was here last night. Remember? The creepy old dude. We blew him off. And now, poof. Owner." Jack said nothing, staring at the coffee stain on his loafer like it held the secrets of the universe. Guilt twisted in his gut. Not sharp, but insidious, like oil in an engine. He'd built his life on hustling, on reading people like spec sheets, the family man eyeing minivans, the exec craving luxury. Elias had read none of those boxes, so Jax had filed him under irrelevant. Now, that irrelevance owned the roof over their heads. The afternoon briefing was Elias's first act. He stood at the head of the conference table, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms veined like old rivers, a simple silver watch catching the light. No PowerPoint, no buzzwords, just his voice, steady as a heartbeat. "I've spent my life teaching history to kids who thought the past was dead weight. Turns out, it's the foundation. Hargrove Motors has been coasting on yesterday's wins. We're building tomorrow's legacy. Starting now, no more cold shoulders. Every customer walks in as a story, not a statistic. And quotas? They're guidelines, not shackles." Murmurs rippled. Tommy shot Jax a look, half awe, half dread. Jax met Elias's eyes again, and there it was, that unspoken thread, pulling taut. The old man wasn't just reforming the dealership. He was seeing them, all of them, in a way Jax hadn't realized he craved. Changes rolled out like a well-tuned assembly line. Elias installed a community board in the lobby, flyers for local pride events, veteran support groups, food drives. He swapped the break room stale donuts for fresh coffee from Elmwood's queer-owned roastery, a subtle nod that set tongues wagging. "He's one of us?" Tommy whispered one evening, after Elias had casually mentioned attending a Harvey Milk commemoration in Cleveland. Jax shrugged, but his pulse quickened. He'd grown up in this town, where being gay meant code-switching at family barbecues and dating apps that ghosted you for safety. His own coming out had been a quiet explosion. His father walking out mid-dinner, his mother hugging him tight but whispering prayers for normalcy. Jax armored up after that, charm as deflection, vulnerability as a four-letter word. But Elias? The man moved through the world like he'd mapped its minefields and chosen to dance anyway. Their first real conversation came on a Tuesday, the lot dusted with early snow. Jax was detailing a Challenger, elbow-deep in wax, when Elias approached, hands in pockets. "Mind if I join? Haven't buffed a hood since '82. Jax straightened, wiping sweat from his brow. "You? In a garage?" Elias chuckled, low and rich, like bourbon over ice. "David, my partner," he restored classics, "taught me everything but patience." The word partner hung there, casual yet seismic, and Jax's throat tightened. They worked in companionable silence at first, rags gliding over curves of steel. Then Elias asked, "What keeps you here, Jax?" "Elmwood's not exactly a launch pad." The question pierced. Jax paused, cloth mid-swipe, Family. Mom needs me. And I don't know. This job's steady. Pays the bills. Elias nodded, eyes on the horizon. Steady's a cage if it clips your wings. I stayed quiet too long once. Lost years chasing approval. He glanced at Jack's vulnerability cracking his poise. Don't let it define you. That night, Jax lay awake in the apartment he shared with Tommy, the walls thin enough to hear his roommate's snores. Elias's words echoed, stirring something dormant, a longing for more than transactions, for connection that didn't end in small talk. He opened his phone, not to Grindr, but to a blank note. What if? Weeks blurred into a rhythm. Elias's touch transformed Hargrove. Sales climbed not from pressure, but pride. Employees empowered to share stories. Customers lingering over coffee chats. Jax thrived under it, closing deals with a genuineness he'd faked before. And the glances between him and Elias? They multiplied, charged like static before a storm. A brush of hands over keys. A shared laugh at a customer's bad pun. Elias's office door stayed open. An invitation Jax resisted, then craved. But cracks formed. Tommy, ever the opportunist, chafed at the soft changes. This touchy-feely crap's killing commissions. He griped one night over takeout, eyes glassy from cheap whiskey. Hargrove knew how to run a tight ship. This guy's turning it into a therapy session. Jax defended half-heartedly. It's working. Sales are up 15%. Tommy leaned in, breath sour. Yeah, but for how long? Word is, he's got deep pockets, but investors are sniffing around. One wrong move. He trailed off, but the implication lingered. Betrayal brewed in discontent. Elias sensed it too. One evening, as snow blanketed the lot, he called Jax into his office. The space was sparse. Books on civil rights stacked beside ledgers. A framed photo of David faded but cherished. Jax, I see potential in you. Not just sales. Management track. If you're interested. Jaw dropped. Jax stammered. Me? Why? Because you listen. Truly. In a world that shouts. That's rare. Elias's hand rested on the desk. Inches from Jax's. The air thickened. Hearts sinking in the quiet. Jax's fingers twitched, bridging the gap. A tentative touch that sent sparks racing. I've never, Jax whispered, but Elias's smile silenced him, gentle as dawn. Neither have I. Not like this. Not after so long. The kiss, when it came, was inevitable, soft, exploratory, tasting of coffee and courage. It wasn't fire, but embers warm, promising depth. They pulled apart breathless, foreheads touching, the world outside forgotten. But as Jax left that night, Tommy's truck idled in the shadows, headlights off, watching. Spring thawed Elmwood's bones. Mud season yielding to dogwoods blooming pink against the dealership's steel facade. Hargrove Motors, no. Hawthorne Auto now, hummed with life. Test drives echoing off cornstalk sentinels. The community board plastered with rainbow flags for Pride Month prep. Jax floated through it all, buoyed by stolen moments with Elias. A lunch at the diner where their boots touched under the table. A late-night inventory count dissolving into whispers about dreams deferred. Elias opened like a long-shuttered book. Over shared sandwiches in his office. He'd recount San Francisco 78, the riots, the joys. The night David proposed with a ring from a pawned watch. We built a life from scraps, Elias said, eyes distant. But AIDS took him in 92. I folded after that. Taught history to hide from it. Jax listened, hungering for that rawness. His own stories spilled easier now. The high school bullies who'd shoved him into lockers, The college fling that ended in tears when the guy chose the closet over them. I armored up, Jax admitted one afternoon, rain pattering the windows. Charm's my shield. But with you, it's like I can breathe. Elias's hand cupped his cheek, thumb tracing the scar from a childhood bike crash. You're more than armor, Jax. You're the spark that reignites. Their romance deepened in quiet defiance of the age gap. The town's whispers. No grand gestures, just authenticity. A balm for Jax's guarded heart. Elias attended his mother's church potluck, charming her with tales of Ohio lore. Jax joined Elias at a veterans memorial, holding his hand unseen but felt. Yet shadows lengthened. Tommy's resentment festered, sales slipping as he sabotaged subtly. Leads forgotten. Customers deterred with snide asides about the new AG boss. Jax confronted him one night in their kitchen, steam rising from microwave burritos. What's your deal, man? Elias is turning this place around. Tommy's laugh was bitter, eyes bloodshot. Around? Into what? A gay support group. I got bills. Jax. Real ones. Not fairy tale bullshit. The slur landed like a slap. Jax recoiled. That's low. Even for you. Tommy jabbed a finger. And you're blind. Mooning over grandpa? He's using you, pretty face, to sell his vision. Wake up. Doubt seeded. But Jax buried it, attributing Tommy's venom to envy. Until the email arrived, forwarded anonymously to the team list. Grainy photos of Jax and Elias in the office, time-stamped after hours. No kiss, but the intimacy screamed. Attached. A scrawled note. Hawthorne's favoritism is ruining us. Time for real leadership. Panic rippled. Sales dipped as morale cracked. Whispers of lawsuits. Boycotts from conservative clients. Elias called an all-hands, face etched with resolve. Rumors are rust. They corrode if ignored. But we're stronger welded together. This dealership is a family, not a faction. Privately, to Jax, it was Tommy. I know his IP from the server logs. Jax's world tilted. Betrayal burned. Not just from his friend, but the exposure, the town's judgmental glare. We should have been careful. I should have. Elias pulled him close. No. Hiding's what broke me before. We faced this, but facing meant fractures. Jax's mother called, voice trembling. The church ladies are talking, Mijo, about you and that man. Is it true? Tears stung as Jax confirmed, the line crackling with her silence. Then a soft, I love you. Always. It was absolution, but the cost tallied. Tommy evicted, crashing on a cousin's couch. Colleagues dividing into camps, some rallying, others resigning. The climax brewed on Pride weekend. Elmwood's first parade, small, defiant, drew protesters, pickets waving faded flags. Elias planned a float, the Mustang convertible, rainbow-wrapped, Jax at the wheel. Show them who we are, Elias urged. Tommy, uninvited but unyielding, lurked at the edges. As the dealership's float rolled down Main, confetti swirling, he slipped into Elias's office, door ajar from the chaos and rifled drawers. Not for money, but leverage, the estate files, David's will, hints of questionable investments that could tank the business if leaked to the wrong ears. Jax spotted him from the parade route, gut twisting. He bolted, weaving through cheering crowds, heart pounding like pistons. Tommy, what the hell? Tommy spun, folder in hand, face twisted in ugly triumph. Proof he's a fraud. Offshore accounts, laundering or whatever. I'll expose him, save this place from his rainbow revolution. It's bullshit, Jax snarled, lunging. They grappled, papers scattering like confetti gone wrong. Fists glancing off jaws, breaths ragged. A protester's shout drew security. Sirens wailed distant. Elias arrived, parting the fray with quiet command. Enough! To Tommy, you're fired. And if you leak a word, lawyers will bury you. To Jax, bruised and bleeding, you didn't have to fight for me. Jax's voice broke. Yes, I did. Because it's us now. All of it. Tommy slunk away, defeated, the folder reclaimed. But the damage lingered. Headlines in the local rag. Dealership drama. Owner's lover in brawl. Customers trickled. Investors balked. In the aftermath, Jax and Elias retreated to the lot at dusk. Sitting on the Mustang's hood, stars pricking the sky. I can't lose this, Jax whispered. You. The life we're building. Elias's arm around him was anchor. You won't. But love's not a straight road. It's detours, repairs. We keep driving. Yet as they kissed, slow and sure, Jax felt the weight. Betrayal's echo, the town's scars. Was their story redemption? Or just another rust-belt ruin? Summer-scorched Elmwood, humidity thick as unresolved grief. The brawl's fallout lingered like exhaust fumes. Tommy vanished to Columbus, rumors swirling of a bar fight arrest. The dealership teetered, red ink bleeding ledgers despite Elias's infusions. Jax threw himself into salvage. Cold calls at dawn. Community tie-ins with the local LGBTQ center. But doubt shadowed him. Nights spent pacing their shared apartment. Elias had insisted Jax move in. A converted loft above the showroom. Beams exposed like honest bones. Elias, ever the historian, framed it as a chapter. Betrayals teach borders. We redraw them stronger. But strength frayed. Jax's mother visited. Her embrace tentative at first, then fierce. He's good for you, she said over coffee, eyeing Elias with wary approval. Reminds me of your abuelo, stubborn heart. It mended something in Jax, a paternal void patched with grace. The turning point came unannounced. A documentary crew from Cleveland Public TV, tipped by Elias's quiet philanthropy. They filmed the Hawthorne turnaround. Interviews with revived employees, testimonials from customers who'd found not just cars, but community. Jax, camera shy, spoke haltingly. This place ignored people once. Now, it sees them. Like Elias sees me. Air dates sparked a surge. Families from Akron, couples from Toledo, drawn by the human story. Sales rebounded, not with flash, but fidelity. A veteran adopting a hybrid for his service dog, a teen with his dad's browsing electrics, wide-eyed at acceptance. Through it, their love matured, roots delving deep. Mornings, Elias brewing pour-over, Jax sketching lot layouts on napkins. Evenings, drives in the Mustang, windows down, Springsteen crooning Thunder Road as cornfields blurred. Intimacy bloomed in gestures. Elias's fingers interlacing Jax's during town council meetings, Jax massaging knots from Elias's shoulders after long days. Conflict resurfaced subtly. Elias's health, a cough that lingered into pneumonia, hospital lights harsh against his pallor. Jax sat vigil, hand in hand, fear clawing. Don't leave me like David left you, he pleaded, voice raw. Elias, fore-dripped and wry, squeezed back. I'm not going anywhere. Got too many miles left with you. Recovery was slow, a forced sabbatical that Jax filled with advocacy, partnering with national gay business networks, turning Hawthorne Auto into a beacon. Betrayal's ghost? Tommy resurfaced via a drunken voicemail. Sorry, man. Jealousy's a bitch. Won't bother you again. Forgiveness wasn't instant, But Jax deleted it, choosing forward motion. Climax crested at Fall Harvest Fest. Elmwood Square alive with hay bales and fiddles. Elias, frielier but fierce, proposed amid the crowd. Not on one knee, but from the heart, Mustang idling nearby. Jax Rivera, you've rebuilt more than this dealership. You've rebuilt me. Marry me? Not for show for us. Tears blurred Jax's vision. Cheers erupting as he nodded. Ring slipping on. A simple band etched with Thunder Road. The town, once prickly, softened. Applause from former skeptics. Toasts from the roastery owners. But humanism demanded nuance. Not every arc bent happily. A key investor pulled out, citing optics, forcing belt-tightening. Jax's father? A postcard arrived, and signed, heard about the wedding. Proud, son. No return, but enough, a bridge half-built. Winter blanketed the lot in peace. Snow muffling regrets. Jax and Elias stood at the window, watching flakes dance. We changed everything, Jax murmured. Elias smiled, arm around his waist. No, we changed for everything. The dealership thrived. Not invincible, but human, flawed, enduring. In Elmwood's heart, two men forged a legacy. Not of steel, but souls. Love, they learned, wasn't ignoring the dents. It was polishing them into stories worth telling. And as the new year dawned, headlights cut the dark, illuminating roads untaken but not regretted. They drove on, together, engines purring, hearts aligned, the American dream reimagined 1 mile at a time.